Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit, and we do need to venture into a wretched hive of scum and villainy. The city must be saved, and it's my duty to do so, as I inform you that Steam sells Kick-Ass 2. Yeah, that was the movie that came out last year, but it's okay because we have the Kick-Ass 2 game released on August the 15th, 2014 on Steam, when it is, of course, at its most relevant. Who is it made by? A selection of folks by the name of Freedom Factory. I could find very little upon them outside of their street address, which is based in Madrid, Spain. Indeed, going to the credits reveals that everyone appears to be Spanish, and it's published by United Entertainment. Actually, it's United Independent Entertainment GmbH. In other words, it's a German company. That German company has been publishing an awful lot of tat on Steam, as is the case with many of these publishers. Games like Farming Giant, Airport Simulator, Game Tycoon 1.5, which was released, that game was about 10 years old and was completely broken on release. Woodcutter Simulator 2013, Warehouse and Logistics Simulator, Tow Truck Simulator 2015. You get the f***ing idea, right? Yes, I'm sure you do. What you might also notice in the top is a little window. What's that little window? Why has that been there? That's the loading time on a SanDisk Extreme Pro SSD. Yes. Indeed. I did not install this on an old USB 1 external hard drive just to screw with you. Oh, no, 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 no. And no, those splash screens cannot be skipped. That is one of the longest load times I have ever seen for a PC game. Ever, actually. It reminds me of the old Mark of Chaos loading times. I was loading that off a 5,400 RPM hard drive, and that game was notorious for having long load times. This is probably worse, at least on the initial load anyway. Let's go to the options menu, shall we? Oh yeah, there isn't any. There is a launcher, which I assumed would be full of visual options. No. It's got resolution and full screen on and off. That's it. It has an entirely separate launcher just for those two things. That's it. Can't customize a damn thing. Audio. There you go. You've got some separate sliders with some random boxes. So, if you like your SFX at 4 boxes out of 10, don't worry, we have you covered. Controls. Can you rebind them? No, of course you can't. That'd be ridiculous. There's no mouse control in the menus here, as you can tell. I'm actually using a controller for this, and I'll tell you why this is both a good and bad idea in a moment. X-axis and Y-axis sensitivity, inversion, and vibration. It does not list the controls of the game anywhere. It does have an in-game list of the 6 or 7 combos that your character gets, but that's about it. Language. Yep. There you go. It does that. Now you know. And that's about all there is to it. There aren't any extra modes. There is a story mode, and that's it. You'd expect something like maybe an arena mode, a skirmish mode, or something along those lines. Maybe even some co-op, a character select. No. No, 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 no. You are getting none of that. Also, welcome to the worst-looking loading screen in history. It looks like it was designed for Newgrounds.
I'm trying to catch the goths that attacked Dr. Gravity.
Okay, I think I saw another of their gangs. I'm gonna follow them, and as soon as I know something, I'll get back to you.
Be careful, Hit Girl.
Now, I don't know about you, but I don't really recall the main character of Kick-Ass being Spanish, or Hit Girl sounding like a German. Nope, none of those were true. Now, I watched both of the Kick-Ass movies. They were okay. I have a notoriously bad taste in movies, I might add, so don't trust me at all whenever I say, oh yeah, I enjoyed that movie, it's probably terrible. My taste in movies is like my exact opposite taste in games. I'm very particular when it comes to my video games, and I just absolutely despise anything that's even remotely messy, but oh, I will watch a bad movie. So, it's a brawler, a third-person brawler. You play as Kick-Ass only. No, you cannot play as Hit Girl, you know, the character that's more interesting, or any of the other characters. Was there a great opportunity to put all of those in the game? Absolutely. But they didn't. Instead, they put Puerto Rican version of extremely white suburban child in the game. I don't know what's going on with that. These are the keyboard controls, by the way. Yeah, they're not really brilliant. The thing is that it's only got keyboard prompts, and yet there's some really weird stuff going on. The sensitivity is terrible. I have my mouse set at about 2000 DPI for a lot of stuff, sometimes even higher, and you can even hear me just having to tread it around just to rotate. It's obscene. Turning my mouse up to maximum speed and that's about 5,000 DPI, is still not enough. So the in-game sensitivity is shot to hell. There is no way you can possibly use the mouse with this. I mean, the keyboard's bad enough, but they give you keyboard prompts, and only keyboard prompts. When you're trying to learn the game, it's like, oh yeah, you gotta use this button. It's like, oh, press Alt. What do you mean, Alt? I'm using a bloody controller, and you should be able to recognize that. I mean, it's a console port anyway, so it's not like it's too difficult. But not only does it have no part of the game which actually tells you any of the controller controls at all, but the keyboard controls that it tells you to use are bloody worthless. So, what does this look like to you? Does it look like a really slow version of Batman? Of course it does, because that's exactly what it is. Plenty of games have been taking the Batman free-flow combat system of late, and almost none of them have done them correctly. That's the main problem. Now, that free-flow combat system works fairly well in games like Arkham City and so on and so forth. And they don't have, they kind of space the fighting out with a bunch of exploration, some puzzle solving, and all sorts of things like that. In this game, there's none of that. It's all fighting. All of it is fighting. Very, very slowly. Oh, man. Now, most of these games implement it poorly for a number of reasons, right? In order to implement free flow really, really well, there's a couple of things you need to do. The first thing is your animation quality needs to be top-notch. It needs to be absolutely fantastic. So if it isn't, the chances are your game is going to feel pretty terrible. Now, of course, the Batman games have got the animation on lockdown for the most part, with the exception of Blackgate. But games like this, and even things like Remember Me that also try to use a similar combat system, are just absolutely terrible in that respect. This game is no exception. This is probably the worst implementation of the free-flow combat system I've ever seen. Jerky animations, extremely slow combat, very unresponsive, and more to the point, when it comes down to the animations, the reason the animations have to be very smooth is because the game's got to look like you are organically flowing between the enemies on the screen. Assuming you can see them, which you bloody can't half the time, because you end up getting blocked by large character models. That's what you gotta do in order to make it really work. And even Batman is a bit dodgy in that respect, because he does this weird thing where he launches himself across the screen in a way that doesn't really make a great deal of sense, just to make the combat system actually work. Now, there's none of that in this. As you can see, you are literally clipping through models here. Yeah. Do I need to say more? No, I really, really do not. The attack moves are extremely slow. If you miss any of them, it can take forever to actually recover from them. Yeah, you can see the recovery time. This is me trying to move, that's the recovery time. Pretty lengthy. Even baton swings, which you'd think would have fairly light recovery time because, you know, they're quick attacks. No, they take forever to recover from, which causes a big problem. Means that you are locked into this set of combos. Yes, there are 6 combos. Epic winning with only 1 N, so there's that. That's nice. Oh, hey, more enemies. Let's fight them. Can't even see the enemy right now because the camera has no idea what's going on. So there's none of that at all, as you might imagine. So as a result, the combat feels terrible. And here's the thing about the Arkham City games. Combat is not all you're doing. You get to mix it up. You learn new combos and abilities. You are able to, of course, fight different enemies, but more to the point, you can get things like gadgets, and you can also avoid combat entirely and go for like a pure stealth approach and things like that. That's why the combat doesn't get so old in a game like Batman, whereas it has the risk of doing so. It's also the reason why combat in Blackgate, well, one of many reasons why combat in Blackgate just isn't anywhere near as good as the mainline Arkham games. In this game, they don't seem to understand that in any way. Spacebar, hit the spacebar. What? The what? I mean, I am using a controller. Which button should I be using here? I couldn't tell you. It's probably one of the shoulder buttons. I don't know. It's okay, we can just counter-attack him in perpetuity. Thank God he's down. There we go. But it's the fighting, and that's it. That's all the game has. And maybe if it did the fighting better than Arkham, fat chance of that, you might be able to get away with that.
Fucking goths. This city looks like the setting for a concert by The Cure.
They're everywhere. I don't know if you heard that beat-up banana jackhammer in the subway.
Banana Jackhammer? What kind of porno flick did that guy come from?
He uses that name because he carries a jackhammer and wears yellow. Mr. Filthy Mind.
Oh.
The dialogue is cringeworthy. The subtitles are often misspelled just to make matters even worse. I realize there's a little bit of cheese involved in Kick-Ass. In particular, it's supposed to be R-rated, so there's a lot of swearing and things like that, but half the stuff doesn't even make sense in terms of the character. I do not pretend to have read the graphic novels for Kick-Ass, right? I have watched the movies. That's all I know about it. But what I do know is, at least, I have a vague idea of the personality of the main character. In this game, he says some outright ridiculous nonsense. I mean, when he's beating on a crowd of thugs, and then he gets hit, he will whine that, hey, leave me alone, I'm just a kid. Like, you have... you gave away the right to be just a kid the moment you started assaulting people in the street. Not only that, but he says some fairly ridiculous things that I have never heard him say in any of the movies. He's talking about ripping their eyes out and popping them like grapes. Like, what? I thought he's supposed to be the hero. Lord knows what's going on with that. As you can see, the game is stacked with these canned animations every now and again that are not particularly good, highly repetitive, and some of them can last up to 6 seconds, which is excessive to say the least. I am really confused as to why this is coming onto Steam now. At no point can anyone have possibly believed, you know what would be really relevant in August 2014? A film tie-in for Kick-Ass 2, a movie that came out in, what, 2013? That wasn't particularly well received to begin with. That sounds like a fantastic idea. Now, if they tied it into the graphic novels and actually made it a more complete, maybe fan-servicey experience, then I could understand it. But that's not what it is. It is absolute tosh. It's a film tie-in that doesn't even tie into the film and came out over a year after the bloody film did. Which makes no sense. None. I understand. Actually, I can tell you exactly what it is, right? Here's the problem right now with Steam. It's that Steam is being used as a place to cheaply cash in on a few suckers here and there, because Steam has opened the floodgates to pretty much anybody. That includes awful publishers like United Independent Entertainment, GmbH, that put out nothing but absolute tosh. This did not go through Greenlight or anything along those lines. It was approved simply on the basis that the publisher gets free reign. Which makes sense to some degree, if a publisher's willing to back it. The problem is that a lot of these publishers have popped up out of nowhere and are doing nothing but publishing tosh on Steam. Yeah? No, don't even think about trying to explore that area. I mean, the textures don't even work properly, as you can probably see. Look at that nonsense. You don't have a jump button. There's no actual exploration in this game, really, at all. It is pretty... Where am I going exactly? Okay. I guess we're running at that. Not sure where he's keeping that. Probably don't want to know. Oh, dear. Hey, guys, I'm keeping the streets clean through vandalism. Common sense, rarely common. It's a disgustingly bad game. It has no business... I mean, it had no business coming out on consoles in the first place. It certainly has no business at all being on the Steam platform at the moment. It has no relevance. It's a game that doesn't even make any sense. It's a game that in 2014 shouldn't even exist, simply because, well, where's the relevance to it? You want to explain that to me? I certainly can't. And it's not like Kick-Ass... Oh, for God's sake. It's not like Kick-Ass couldn't be a good game in theory. Absolutely it could. Why the hell not? You could have an open world, you could have even just a spectacle fighter that was done properly, you could have a co-op brawler. Yeah, all of those would work fairly well, but these guys have failed to do any of that. And the insulting thing about it is that even though it's a game that has far, far past its relevance point, it's still been released for $25. Who are they kidding with that? Exactly. I imagine the only two people that actually bought this, aside from me to warn you about it, were the two people that reviewed it, and I feel very sad for them. I've got to say, there's 2 Steam reviews, and I feel the pain of the money that was lost through purchasing this absolute dreck. Yeah, there's not a thing that's redeeming about this at all. Not a bloody thing. It's nothing but filler, really bad voice-acted cutscenes, and... why can't it... Are you kidding me? Ladies and gentlemen, the superhero of the damn universe can't walk up a ramp! For some reason! You want to try that again? Well done! Third time lucky. You truly are learning to save the city, aren't you? Why does he have a fucking harpoon? Of all things!
No weapons.
Oh, God. Yeah, nothing redeems this title in any way. If you thought the movie was bad, well, by comparison, it's phenomenal. Seriously. Ladies and gentlemen, theme tie-ins are alive and well. Movie tie-ins, even more so. And they are just as bad as you bloody well remember. And really, they have no right to be. In this day and age, they have no sodding right to be. Oh, man. Don't. In any way, consider this. Under any circumstances. It's not even a case of so bad it's good. It's boring. Flat out frickin' boring. Kick-Ass 2, ladies and gentlemen, asking for 25 of your hard-earned dollars. No. Put it towards a colonoscopy. It would be more pleasant. He can't walk upstairs! Look at him! He's bloody hopeless! I'll see you next time. And it changed my desktop font! Why? I don't even know how to turn that back! Ugh.